On this episode of SouthCack Syndicate Podcast, we're with Megan McPhail-Ketterman right here, talking cattle, blockchain technology, and the use thereof in her industry, and beef processing. So if you're into that kind of thing, stay tuned.
Hey, this is Liz, and you're listening to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Welcome. Episode 22, SouthCack Syndicate Podcast. My name is Jared.
Kyle Voss. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. This is our first podcast of 2023. Thank you for joining us.
We're a little bit behind schedule. We sick and weather.
Holidays, and then bad weather came through. And
the weather matters because
we have a metal roof.
You'd hear it raining.
But you wouldn't hear us.
Yeah.
So, I was coming in today. What are you listening to right now, music-wise?
I mean, Whiskey Myers, Blackberry Smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to everything, really. But if I'm, like, in the shop and I'm actually picking what I'm listening to, that's the kind of stuff I listen to.
You make your own playlist of, like, shop music.
I probably should. I don't. I just tell Alexa to play. The thing about, like, Whiskey Myers and Blackberry Smoke, for me, is that the entire album is listenable. And so I don't have to do a playlist. I can just say, play that artist, and then I love everything that they've got, right? I mean, I guess I could have a playlist and have her play those, but I'm lazy.
Interesting. I'm in a Bob Seger right now
for
some reason.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with some Bob Seger. So
I've just been back-to-back some Seger.
Matter of fact, now that you said that, I'm going to have to go home and some Bob Seger it up a little bit.
Great stuff.
See, I could do that, too. Like, I could get into, like, Eric Clapton, and then just Eric Clapton for, an hour. But I don't ever think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it never crossed my mind. I just have a go-to.
You're a Clapton guy?
I mean, something about, like, the acoustic guitar.
Sure.
And I have to be in the mood.
Understood.
And that's everything.
Yeah.
When it comes to music, it's like all mood-based.
Of course.
But
you need to get pumped for something.
It's not Eric Clapton.
It is not Eric Clapton. It's not Bob Seger either.
Yeah.
It's going back to DMX.
Well,
or some,
maybe.
Hustle playlist. Some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So I was looking through some articles this morning. And there's an article that popped up. Message in a bottle travels from Canada to Ireland in 18 months. A message in a bottle tossed up into the ocean off the coast of Nova Scotia turned up on an Ireland beach 18 months later.
That's crazy.
Like, I don't even know how that works, but what's the chances of that? What if you put an Apple AirTag in the bottle?
Yeah. Probably end up you talking about you could see where it stopped?
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't collect any data from the time you threw it in to it got out of Bluetooth range, and then it wouldn't pick up anything.
How does that work? Does that work on other people's phones?
I think it does. I think AirTags work on the Bluetooth piece.
It just picks up on somebody's phone and sends that signal off?
That's right.
Huh.
Because I got one for Smurf, my dog, and put it on her collar, and she took off through the mountains. And as soon as she got out of range of the house, there was no, I lost
no data.
Smurf. That's right. So it's strange, but it'd be cool to see, or a balloon or something.
Yeah. We don't want to get way too far off what we're going to get into on this podcast, but we went to Dollywood right after the New Year, and they have that Titanic museum up there. Titanic, not Titanic.
Tatanka.
So the Titanic museum up there, and I'm kind of I love like stuff like that, and so we went. And you know what I didn't realize is that the Titanic sank about, I don't know how many miles it is, but it's basically just right off the coast of New York. Mm-hmm. Like I thought it'd be like up in the Arctic Circle. I don't know. I was thinking iceberg, like what the hell? But no, it's not far off the coast of New York. I guess what is that? Greenland kind of peaks down in there, and some of those icebergs were kind of floating off of that. So it's not near as north as you would think it would have been.
I heard some crazy conspiracy theories about the Titanic, like it was a setup.
Well, there was a twin boat called the
sister,
Olympia.
Yeah.
It looked exactly like it.
Yeah.
They built them exact same time. And it survived.
One of the theories was it was an insurance job to help fund transit, whatever the name of the company was.
Well, I've also heard a bunch of the competitors of somebody.
Well, you had all the richest men in the world
on that boat
on one vessel.
Yep.
What better way to,
the only reason
your number.
The only reason I don't necessarily believe all that is because how hard would it be to purposely hit an iceberg and make sure that you hit it good enough where the boat sank? right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be hard to set up.
I love a good conspiracy
I
theory.
guess you'd try it. Yeah. I mean, I do when they have legs.
Yeah.
You know, if they don't have
It's not
legs.
just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Aliens did not build the pyramid, okay?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
But even that, it's a lot of things to think about. We got to do conspiracy day.
Ooh, that would be fun.
That would be fun. So today we're bringing in somebody we had on last year, and her name is Megan McPhail-Ketterman. Welcome to the podcast, Megan.
Welcome back, Megan.
Am I the first repeat guest?
You're the first guest of 2023.
First
that's
guest
right.
of 2023.
That's right. So Megan has a plethora of subject matter she could talk to or talk about. But today we're going to talk about the cattle business.
What did we
and
talk about last time you were on? Airbnbs?
Politics, school board.
Politics, school board.
That's right.
A little bit of cattle, a little bit of
a little bit of
farm.
everything.
I think we talked about you coming back for cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I told
She
y'all
said she was
that
going to cook steak.
I wasn't going to let Greg Tutu
That's right.
outdo me, but Jared threw this at me last minute about doing cattle stuff, and I can't prepare steaks for y'all to do a taste testing today.
Gotcha.
so-
We'll take a rain check on that.
Okay.
So Takina Angus is the family farm. I'm going to let Megan tell the story about that. But why we chose to do the cattle part today is they're doing their 29th bull and female sale about 20 days from now. No,
2
less than
weeks.
that. 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So it's an annual thing. So 29 years of selling cattle.
Yeah,
Right?
Probably more than that.
Yeah.
Under a different name, but when Takina Angus was established, this is the 29th year for Neil and Gwen to sell their bull and females. So we're going to get into what that looks like, the logistics of raising your own cattle, the logistics of putting on the sale. There's a lot. I mean, you heard the saying it takes a village to do, a lot of things, and it
Yep.
truly takes a village. So
The one thing I would love to kind of preface this whole podcast on is the fact that the cattle business is probably way bigger than most people realize in all aspects, not just
for sure.
right, not just the breeding side, but not just the meat side, but there's a breeding side to it. There's a lineage, creating lineage and selling lineage, and all. I mean, it's a big deal.
We'll get into that.
Cool.
into that.
I'm excited.
So Megan, start us off with how Takina Angus started and who all was involved there.
So, I mean, gosh, I don't know where to start. We are a fourth generation cattle farm. So, been in my family since early 1900s when my great grandfather bought the land and established the farm then, and then my grandfather in 1936 actually started our registered Angus cattle herd, known as the Takina Angus cattle herd. And back then, the Aberdeen, Scotland Angus breed was very prevalent, and they were bringing them over from Scotland and Europe because of their meat quality genetics.
Right.
And just really good genetics as far as raising them on forage and ease of the the quality of the animal in the South. They're
Probably
very-
resistance to disease too, I'd guess, and
Well, I mean, in fact, there was a lot of disease outbreaks back in the early 40s and 50s, and they actually had to
kind of
exterminate the whole herds.
Right.
Brucellosis came through, a lot of different things that killed off, millions of cattle. So, they've certainly overcome a lot of things in the herd health management aspect. But, I mean, yeah, it's been in our family for generations. And my dad was the youngest of 7 children.
okay.
And he was the youngest by 11 years from the next youngest.
Right.
So he was, my granddad was 56.
Truly
when-
the baby.
He was the baby. My
Yeah.
granddad was 56 when they had him. So he was
Wow.
raised kind of like with a grandfather figure rather than a father figure. But, the farm was always run by the family brothers. We had Floyd and we had Steve, we had Walter, and then my dad was the youngest brother. And so Floyd and Walter were really the true instrumental ones back in the 60s and 70s, just because they were older. And Floyd always did a lot of row cropping, broiler chicken houses, And then Walt did a lot of the cattle aspects and building the herd and kind of partnering together with Floyd in making the whole operation run. And then in the, I guess, early 80s, when my dad and mom got married, they ended up taking over the Takina Angus part of Takina Farms and continuing the legacy genetics that were started by my grandfather.
Right. So now when it comes to genetics, what's their priority to like improve, to actively improve that genetic, or to just maintain what's already established?
So
or both, I guess.
It's really weird because the Angus Association, they have been really one of the leaders in the industry in maintaining data for their genetics, tracking things like, diseases and birth defects and things that have been line bred into. I mean, you look at anything that's line bred for so long, you're going to start to have problems with.
Yeah.
Dogs, humans. That's why it's really not good to line breed that often.
Right.
And so the Angus Association was really the industry leader when it came to genetic testing and figuring out what genetics they really want to capture. But right now we focus a lot on, the moms and the sires, or the dam and the sires' maternal milk qualities, their ability to raise a calf, and then the sire's ability to, have good calving data. You don't want a 100-pound calf coming out of a first-time virgin heifer because you're probably going to kill her. And so there's a lot of things that go into the science behind the cattle industry on our level. We're a large seed stock producer, and we want to pass our genetics on to smaller commercial cattlemen and give them the best quality genetics for their herd.
So let me ask you: when somebody comes to buy, say they want a Takina Angus cow, heifer, a cow or a bull or whatever. What are they? Is everybody looking for something different?
Yeah, they are, because their herd is completely different. Their program might be completely different than ours. But what the majority of people, especially in the Southeast, and really just in the cattle industry, you're looking for pounds. They are there to make a profit. So if a bull can pass on genetics for growth, average daily gain, and help his calves get to a better weight and a final weight at process when that calf's ready to be processed, then that's a goal. If you're looking to grow your females and grow your herd with females, then you want to have, productive females are going to have a calf every 365 days and healthy
easy.
And raise them and milk, good milk quality.
Right.
I mean, we've got some cows that, they are not maternal. And those, go to beef because they can't raise a calf.
Do you know the statistics locally, like on, I've got a neighbor that has probably 100, his herd's probably 100 cows or whatever. How many people locally have some form of Takina Angus within their herds, or is it separate?
I don't think that many people around Oconee County, there's probably a few locally that have come and bought heifers or bought bulls from us, but we really have focused on the Southeast, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina.
Yeah.
We'll ship cattle anywhere in the U.S. So probably in Oconee County, not that many.
Not that many.
Yeah.
So now, okay, so let's get back.
It seems like a lot, though, because how many people do you average at your annual sale?
I don't know,
200?
250. And then there's, everybody online that watches online.
Yeah,
so.
and you don't even have to be at the sale, right? Mm-hmm. Takina Angus coming up in the world, so you can go to liveauctions.tv and watch the sale live and bid right there. And we have a designated person, and all she does is take in books or bids from people that are not in the sale. So we can attribute, a small percentage of those go online. But most of those guys that are at the sale, 80% of them are all Oconee County guys.
No, we've got a lot of Georgia,
80%.
East Denali.
We do have some. But
So is everything that goes through the sale only from y'all, or can somebody bring something?
No, so they have to be. I mean, the predominant program that we run is they are our cattle. They were born and raised. This past season, they're ready to go and be productive on another farm, and we've done everything that we can do to make sure that cow or bull is going to be productive. For the owner that buys them. But what we have done is start a consignor buyback program. So let's say you come and buy a bull, and you put that bull on your heifers, and you start getting Takina Angus calves. In June, when those calves start to be weaned, we will go out to your farm and look at your calf crop. And say you've got 20 new calves, and they're ready to be weaned, but you don't want to just take them to the sale barn and call it $600 for them.
Right.
Whatever the low dollar pay at the sale barn that week is, because this is a commodity. We our pay is based on what everybody else says it should be. So we offer you, Kyle, to buy your calves at a premium based on, we know that they're Takina genetics. We know that you, as a herd manager and as a farmer, have gone to all the links of tagging, keeping track of vaccinations, keeping track of any kind of issues. We know your calves are
Right.
going to be good stock. So we buy them back at a premium, giving you a little more money than just the sale barn.
Yeah.
Put them in the sale. And that's what you see here in the
That's
catalog.
almost like a little arbitrage, because you guys are using somebody else's land to basically
to raise them, but then we bring them to our farm.
Right, that's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. So they're raising them for 6 months.
You're like, it's like the
They
chicken
don't
farm.
but they don't have to.
They don't
Right, I get that.
It's just we're offering, or Neil's offering a buyback program.
It's a smart play.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
we already know the cattle.
Yeah.
Right?
And because we want our commercial cattlemen and our small cattlemen to stay in business. So they can't stay in business and pay the taxes and pay all the stuff, to keep their land and their family without a decent income from their cattle. So our thought is, why don't we offer this special offering and help the cattlemen who we can consign from with our genetics, instead of just letting them go to the sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get them back, you guys raise them up a little
We
more.
raise them. We feed them out, raise them up. Get them bred.
And put them through the sale.
They go through another stringent type of program to make sure that they are going to be good breeders. They're fertile, all that. And any steers that people have, we might buy them back depending on how many steers we actually have.
Right. If you need them, or
Yeah.
That's awesome. I got so many directions I could go from here. I know there's some things you want to touch on for sure.
There's a lot. There's a lot in this catalog, and I love the touch and feel of this catalog. It's Megan's favorite catalog that they've done. And there's some good stuff in here. It tells a little bit about some of the history of the farm, and Neil and Gwen, all about the cattle, and a lot about what Megan's already spoken about. But how many catalogs did you mail out this year?
I think about 900.
Oh, look, I just found a picture of you in here.
I am lot number.
Yeah. It's
29.
I'll go ahead and tell you, it's a little on the lean side.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So we talked a while back about blockchain technology and the use thereof in real life. I see that. It's awful.
I mean, I wasn't joking. I actually.
Yeah. So can we use blockchain technology to track vaccines, medicines?
Well, that's what I was going to get back to.
Birth weight, growth weight, average daily gain.
Yeah.
Because today, everything is done here and on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to kind of get back to, is like you were talking about, how you track all this stuff. And currently, how is that done?
So let me just say, my dad, bless him, I love him to death. He is a pen and paper guy. He carries
Old
around
school.
his little ledger, and then when he's out in the pasture riding fences in the mornings and checking calves, he pulls out that little ledger and goes to 7B4, and she's had a calf this morning. It's a heifer, and that heifer weighed 65 pounds. He is so old school, but that's that generation.
Let's give people an idea of because the three of us have kind of an idea of how this works, but when a newborn is dropped, you guys assign it some kind of
Yeah, identification.
and those are tagged in their ears.
They are tagged in their ear.
And they stay with them their entire life.
Let's hope. Sometimes tags fall
Right,
out, and then
right.
we're left up to hopefully guessing by
But the idea is that that's how you can identify those. And so when
So-
you say he's out in the field and he sees B, whatever, that's what he's talking about is the
Yeah, so he knows who the mom is. I mean, Dad knows these cattle without even having to look
Yeah.
at the tag. I
They're like
mean,
his
he knows
kids.
that
The numbers don't come out of Neil's head.
they're very scientific.
So it's the physical number stands for something, the letter stands for something,
Yeah.
and it can have two letters or two numbers. And that's how he knows who the great grandmother of that heifer was.
So
or
let's
something
just
like that.
call it, 7. Let's say it's 7B4. So 7 would be the year that calf was born. So technically, that's a 2017 model.
okay.
She would have been born in the fall of 2016.
Right.
Okay. So we're always a year kind of ahead in our numbering system for that crop. So 7 would have been 2017. B would be the sire. So it could have been, pay weight 1682 or Stevenson pay weight or, whoever we're using that year. B is assigned, or F or Z or whatever is assigned to that sire. Then 4 is calf number 4 of the crop.
Of
that sire's crop.
So it could go
In
into double
2017.
digits. It could be
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have
or triple digits.
Yeah. 7B60, 7B30.
Yeah. It's crazy because, ties back into the automotive world. Like VIN tags
Yeah.
used
That's
to
right.
be like that.
Yeah.
You could literally look at a VIN tag and be like, oh, this was made in Detroit. It was
Yeah,
this
that's right.
color. It was that.
Yeah, everything. The bottom of your Coke can will tell you which facility it got
Yeah.
bottled out of. The underneath the pop top has a number,
Yep.
and that stands for what crew or something. Everything is assigned that
So
way.
the thing that's awesome, I guess, is you could have a customer that bought something from you guys years ago. And if do they stick to those same VIN style?
Sometimes when they buy from us, we've already put different tags in them because they've actually been tattooed or branded. So we always can track that cow carcass, based on the tattoo and the brand. However, when we go through sale, they are numbered lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. So they actually get different tags put in come sale time. Well, then we might go to a farm and there's still a, Taquina tag number 23. We have to go back and figure out, okay, that was, 7D16 and always keep track of that, and which goes back to, good record keeping.
Right.
Dad is so much old school pen and paper, and he knows these cattle back. I mean, he knows who bought who, 10 years ago. But, I've tried to come in and say, let's go a little bit more technology routed. Let's start using Excel sheets, Google Docs.
Right.
That way everything is shareable and not all of that institutional knowledge in his head.
Everybody can see it.
Is being transferred to on
Yeah.
to me and whoever comes behind me. And there's always a record that's not just on pen and paper.
So I guess that kind of leads into the discussion that we've had in the past with NFTs and actually having digitizing a physical asset. And for those that you listen to the podcast or have watched this, you kind of know the history of the me and the crypto side, and Jared on his side going, there's no utility. I don't get it. I don't understand. How does this work? Well, this is like a prime example because they're starting to look at digitizing these physical assets with NFTs, right? And I guess it could be done really in it could be done in a lot of ways. It doesn't have to be an NFT. It could be an RFID, where they, like the dogs, where they
That's right.
implant something and then you can just scan that animal at any point in its life, no matter where it's at, and you're gonna know exactly its lineage.
So the goal would be from birth to table.
Right.
Right. So that this
Not
is,
just to slaughter. It's gonna be
We would love for it to be to table, but
Well, we'll
that-
get.
yeah.
We're going to definitely get into the processing side.
Yeah.
Okay, because and this may just catapult us into that. But the hardest time is and Megan can speak to this better than I can, for you to go to your local grocery store and buy an Angus steak. It doesn't have to be 100% Angus. It has to be what?
Yeah.
50% black hide.
okay. Say that again.
It has to be, in order for it to be labeled Angus,
Certified
like
Angus
certified Angus
beef.
beef. All it has to have is 50% black hide.
Meaning, if you visibly look at the animal, it has to be 50%
Black
of its
hide.
hide.
It don't even have to be Angus. It just has to have black hide.
It just has to be black. 50% of that hide has to be black for it to be considered certified Angus beef. And really, the Angus Association tried to push that marketing, early 80s, and that's really how it got legs so early on, was because everybody's like, oh yeah, I want certified Angus beef. That's, we're going to pay a higher premium for our steaks in our restaurant.
Yeah.
But there's no legitimate way to have tracked really if that cow genetic was, or that beef genetic was Angus.
So the awesome thing is, and I'm sure this is where you guys are going with this, is if there was a way for the public to then look to see what that steak, for instance, if there was a barcode on it, an NFT barcode.
Scan it and look.
You're in the grocery store, you
birth
could
date,
scan it, you could see where it came from.
what vaccines it's had. If was it grass fed, was it grain fed?
You could literally see a picture of it.
if you wanted to. A lot of people don't want it,
Well, I'm
and they
just
don't want to
saying.
know the name.
I will tell you this. You talked to Kitu.
Yeah.
Because he talked about him being
That's
a
right.
steak guy, right?
Yeah.
He would probably geek out on that.
That's right.
I want to see where it came from, what it was
right.
raised on, all this stuff. And then when you present that at your dinner, you're like, this came from this farm or X or whatever. And then now those farms that raise those are in a pecking order, right? The ones that actually do what they're supposed to be doing and raising good beef on free range or whatever the thing is, right? Mm-hmm. And how it was treated and how it was shipped and all this stuff. Now that beef's going to bring bigger money.
It's got a story attached to it.
It's got a story attached to it versus the one that's raised in some feedlot out in somewhere, whatever.
Well, I think the industry is currently striving to go blockchain on this.
Yeah.
The last issue of Progressive Cattleman, the front cover was blockchain and cattle, ?
Yeah.
And so I've got a friend of mine, Jeff, in Australia. And so he gets his bulls from Jack Holden, and he gets his Angus cow from Illinois, Musgraves. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I was like, so how are you tracking all this over there? He's like, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're not at blockchain yet, but it is coming.
You know what this
circle.
makes me think about, and obviously it's going to get us off topic just slightly, but where's the opportunity here? Like, could we create a cattle blockchain?
We spent meetings after meeting,
years.
family meetings of how does this work, making phone calls, talking to universities. Everybody wants to be the first out there to make this happen. And there's a couple applications today that do this for a farm that has time to put in. But when you're in the day-to-day of being a real farmer, this is not what you see in the movies.
That's not even where I was going. Like, okay, for instance, I mean, obviously you are up to what's going on. But a lot of these large farms, they're like your dad. They're the pen and paper. They don't want to change. They want to do the same thing. But if there was a third party that's what they specialized in, was bringing you up to date, right? Blockchain cattle.
That's what you're saying. You take three guys, you go from farm to farm and say, we're going to set all this up for you. We're going to train you, and we're going to the next farm.
That's right. We're basically consulting, but we're going to come in. We're gonna make it plug and play.
Yep.
Ultimately, we look to our universities and our extension departments to do that, but they are not what they used to be, and they don't disseminate information as well as they used to. Coming out and driving out to the farms and working with the farmer on the day to day.
Right.
They don't do that anymore. We have extension programs here, and I can't tell you the last time our extension agent's been out to the largest Angus cattle farm and row crop farm in years. I can't tell you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we're 15 miles from Clemson University.
Why do you think that is? You think they're focused on other things?
I don't know. I don't want to badmouth anybody.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel that personally, this is how I would think about it, and I have no idea. So just let me put that out there, because this is like an idea that I have no clue about. But what I think is, like, used to Clemson University, this whole area in general was not what it is today. Mm-hmm. And so 20 years ago, Clemson University, this was all farmland. Mm-hmm. Even Clemson, a majority of Clemson University was farmland. And so it was easier for them to focus on that kind of stuff. Whereas nowadays it's more about, okay, we still have this part of the university, but we're going to focus on research and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not about in the community of the farmers and like it was in the past. There's so much more going on, I guess. It's like, okay, we have to narrow our focus. We can't do everything.
That's right.
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you said research and publications, because a lot of these extension agents and faculty, you know, animal science faculty, they are trying to get tenure and they have to become published, and they're, you know, I know what it takes to be published, and that's sitting in an office and, you know, typing on a computer and figuring out what magazine and what, you know,
And you want to,
venue to disseminate your latest research is.
right. It has to be the next greatest discovery or thing. Like them just reaching out to you is not going to necessarily get them
Their research and their data.
Yeah.
And so it is difficult, and it's disappointing sometimes that we've gotten here in society that agriculture and food systems has been put on the back burner, especially for our universities. But the good thing is that, you know, producers are having to be the progressive ones now and go out and say, hey, is blockchain the next way that I'm able to, you know, market my cattle?
Yeah.
So it's up to the producers.
The great thing about blockchain, and it's funny because last night I went out to dinner with some friends of mine and was talking to a buddy who has, you know, no idea about, you know, blockchain and everything. We literally talked for an hour. You know, the main thing I do when I talk to somebody about that is I'm like, okay, first thing you need to do is get the word coin out of your vocabulary because it ruins it for everybody. Everybody thinks of it as a currency, and it's not. It's a technology.
That's right.
This technology is going to take over because it has so much utility to it. It can track cattle. It could track packages. UPS could get rid of all of their data stuff, and they could put it on the blockchain. They would never have to worry about it. You also have to like get out of your mind the whole mining thing, because people are like, I don't understand the coins in mining. Like it doesn't make any sense, and it really doesn't. It's like the wrong thing. You should think of it as the utility itself would be the coin, and then the thing that processes that utility would be the miners, right? You need some kind of backbone to process this information, and that's the miners. They get you're paying them a percentage to basically make all these transactions for you, right? And then the utility, the coin part, is where you benefit from it. For instance, if you guys had an NFT attached to every piece of cattle you had, when that cattle was sold to somebody else, you would then transfer that NFT to them. You would pay a small fee for that transaction, and the person who basically facilitated that transaction, the miner, would get that fee. When you talk about it like that, it's like, oh, that makes sense. That's like everything else in the world, right? If you send a package, you're paying for so-and-so to send that package. So anyway, we had this hour-long conversation of me just unwinding what he thought of as coins and mining and whatever. So anyway, it's going to be very interesting what happens over the next 5 years. I would love to like revisit this too, to kind of see where you guys go.
So Megan, tell us where you are with the conversation of blockchain when it comes to processing.
So, and I know we've talked about this. I think I called you, two years ago or something, and was like, Kyle, I need to understand how blockchain
What the hell is an NFT?
works with cattle.
Yes.
And so, and now the way I have it pictured in my head is, you know, a calf drops on the ground on September 1st, and that calf identification, description, mother, sire, or dam, sire, you know, lineage, pedigree goes all into the blockchain. Then when that calf is sold, goes either into the food chain, you know, let's call it either a feedlot, or if it goes to a commercial cattleman to go into his herd. Again, yes, you transfer that just as you would a car title,
Yeah.
you know, or a boat title.
Yep.
And then that owner, hopefully, what we hope to do is we would all, you know, ourself, Takina, would input data such as, you know, how much it weighed, what was it being fed, how much did it weigh when it was sold, any kind of diseases, any kind of issues, any kind of vaccinations that may have happened, and put all that data in. Well, then that becomes trackable to the restaurant, the slaughter plant, to the producer
all the way.
true
Yeah.
farm to table.
I think the huge advantage to it being digitized is that, so for instance, let's think about it like this. Say you track say you had an Excel spreadsheet for every animal you had, and you log all the data and you do everything, right? And it's going to be perfect. The thing that sucks though is when you sell that animal to somebody else, you could technically send them that same Excel spreadsheet, but it doesn't mean they're going to use it. Versus like an NFT is that Excel spreadsheet. Every data entry goes on the blockchain for that animal.
And they still may not use it.
They won't have a choice, I think, at some point, because what's going to happen is when it gets to the processor, they're going to be like, okay, we need you to transfer this NFT to us. Or when it gets to the consumer, what's going to happen at some point, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but in the grocery store, you're going to be able to see where the animal came from. The grocery store is going to demand that they have that. They're going to have to get it from the processor, who gets it from the person who sold it to them, who gets it from the person who birthed that. It's like it's going to be demanded, because they're going to say, hey, no, at the end of this, in order for us to sell this to the supermarket, they're going to want to know where this came from.
Make sure it's not hippopotamus or
Right.
giraffe, right? Yeah.
And the difference is too, is like an Excel spreadsheet, even if you did transfer that to them, that doesn't mean they couldn't delete a couple of entries and then put in whatever they want.
That's
Yeah.
right.
On the blockchain, you can't do that.
That's right.
Well, and what we are striving to do right now is we've started the South Carolina Beef Marketing Cooperative, and we want to push for South Carolina raised beef. What are you?
Sorry. There you go. I could tell you didn't have enough. You were getting pulled to one side there.
Okay, sorry.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I was caught up, but I was trying to make it do. What we're trying to do is the South Carolina Beef Marketing Cooperative is we really want to promote South Carolina raised beef, and with that comes a label, and that label is verified through blockchain and through the cooperative members to say this cow, this calf, this bull was born in South Carolina on a farm that we know the data behind it. We know what vaccinations it had, and we know where it was processed. Now, processing is a whole different issue because there's, not enough of them and not enough of the workforce to support that industry at the moment, but we're working on that as well. So then when somebody buys a South Carolina labeled beef product in the store, it can be verified to say, yep, that came from Tequina Angus, or that came from,
Wherever.
so-and-so.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about some of the, I don't know, I call it fuckery, because there's fuckery in the industry as far as, I mean, I don't know if you guys want to touch on that, but like,
Yeah, we can. Let's take a short break and we'll get right into that. Stay tuned.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. When it comes to your auto and home insurance needs, make things simple and trust your Allstate experts. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your auto and home. Bundling saves money, sure, but it also saves you time. So you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact Clemson Allstate agent Shane Smith at 864-654-1047 today for a free personalized insurance proposal. Allstate, are you in good hands?
And we're back with Megan Ketterman talking Tequina Angus and cattle today, and learning a lot about the old school ways of farming, the hard work it puts in, and where we're going with farming in 2023. Not just farming, but cattle, row crop, and everything else. With
NFTs, crypto, like how it's going to integrate at some point.
Sure.
We talked about it in the break, and we're going to have to revisit this just to kind of like stay up to date on, okay, this when something changes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are reasons for it, and I don't think anybody's doing it yet, but it is on the forefront, right? People are having the conversations, they're having the meetings, they're trying to figure it out, but the technology is not already all there for them to utilize as well. But one of the reasons that you would do this would be, so jump in here.
Well, I think our biggest thing in order to really make an impact is purely verification. So let's go back to the Angus beef program and South Carolina raised beef.
Yeah. So that's a premium, right?
That's a premium. We know that this cow or this calf or whatever was raised on a South Carolina farm. It is the genetics that we're saying that it is. It is therefore higher quality and a higher premium, not only at the processor, but at the grocery store for the consumer. Because what I know about consumers is they want a good quality product. When I go, unfortunately, we are out of ground beef at the moment, and I've had to go to the grocery store. I know, imagine that, a cattle farmer who's out of ground beef. But I go to the grocery store and I keep up with prices, and I look at ground beef, and I mean, this stuff is packed full of fat, and it's not a good quality product. You don't know if that was a Holstein cow or a Brahman bull.
Yeah,
you have
know.
no
Or from
clue.
Brazil.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know if
You
it came
don't
from
know.
overseas. If
And
it was
so-
raised on a feedlot, you don't know.
Yeah, so I think for us, in order to capture the verification, to make sure that this calf was truly a locally born product, because everybody loves local, we want to support local, and consumers have the ability and want the ability to buy local and know that it came from a farm just right down the road, and they're willing to pay for that because they're like, oh yeah, this is a better quality product than, say, a Holstein. A Holstein is not quality beef product.
Right.
It needs to be ground up,
Yeah.
and that's what burger is majority in the grocery store.
See, I think there's going to be a huge market for this. And when I think of it, I think of like, I always go back to like bourbon cigars, right? Like if you know the lineage, you know the story of whatever bourbon, whatever, it's been aged this long, it's been in this kind of barrel, it's been, you will pay for that story. I think beef's the same way. The problem with beef, though, like you're saying, is nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody
we don't
knows.
know. Once that carcass hits the processor, we don't know. There's no identification. There's no brand associated with it. That carcass is chopped up into, hundreds of pounds,
Right.
without genetically testing every single piece of meat that goes to the grocery store, which only adds dollars.
Right.
That is not where we're
So
at.
how are people getting around that?
So
The current laws aren't
There-
stringent enough to.
there's not. I
implement.
mean, if you look at it, our South Carolina Department of Ag, they only have so many men. Our USDA only have so many men. And I say men, like workforce, eyes on the process, eyes on the consumer, eyes on the producers. So there is no way, there's no laws right now that say, okay, if you're selling local beef, you have to label it a certain way, unless it was processed at a certain processor, like a
Right.
USDA certified processor, or
But I mean, even to the fact of somebody could say it's South Carolina raised Angus beef.
and they went to North Carolina, shipped in a bunch of calves, grew them out, and they're calling it, South Carolina raised
Process
beef.
it here, and then they say
And it's not. They're buying them out of wherever, truckloads, and they could be dairy calves,
yeah,
and then they're labeling them as great quality beef,
right.
and they're not.
Yeah, they weren't raised to be great quality
That's
beef.
right.
Yeah.
Dairy cows are raised to be milk producers. Then they go into the hamburger food chain. That is the crux of it. But what happens is dairy calves are so cheap because nobody wants them. Nobody can raise them.
That's where the McRib comes from.
I mean, right.
It's just the worst of the worst meats.
There is a market for them, but it's not in the beef program. And that's what people are trying to do, is force dairy cattle into the beef program. And that is not what they're for.
So like a good, unchangeable blockchain style technology would go a long ways. Not necessarily for everybody, because there's people out there that could care less.
It works great for the South Carolina Beef Angus Association, right? A smaller market, not a federal market.
The cooperative?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, back to bourbon. Like some people just go buy the cheapest whatever on the shelf. They could care less if it's it was a milk cow or
they
whatever.
like
They
it.
just
That's it.
like the ground beef, right? But there's some people out there that want to know they have something that was raised where it said it was raised.
That's right.
No additional hormones. I mean, let's face it. Here's one of those
Was that GMO free?
the
or something?
efferys that we were going to talk about. One of the efferys in the industry is people label it as no hormones. I'm sorry, I'm going to call crap, because animals have hormones.
Yeah.
You don't label it as no hormones. You label it as no additional hormones.
Right.
No added hormones.
Yeah, no like milk producing hormones.
Right.
Or,
No steroids. I mean, that is one of those genetic or consumer industry fallacies of people buy things because it has a certain label. Oh, I don't want to buy anything with hormones. It's an animal. It has hormones.
Yeah. Well, and even like when it comes to good quality, a good quality steak should have great marbling in it, right? And that's you can't inject them with, at least as far as I know, you can't inject them with something and create something that didn't happen through a lineage of years that was bred
or breed. That's right.
So if you want a great steak that has the proper marbling and has all the things that you want in a good steak, you can't produce that overnight. Now, someone could say it is what you would want, and I would go back to like the what is the Wagyu? There's so much Wagyu stuff going out now, but is it really Wagyu?
Well, that's right. How do
you know?
Verify
Did it come from Japan?
Verification.
Or was it a bull that came from Japan 10 years ago and he'd bred with a bunch of, and now, it's Wagyu?
Yeah, we have a couple Wagyu on the farm that Gwen does on a separate program. Not many, 3 or 4 or 5.
Well, yeah, she's got probably 10 or so.
10 now.
Yeah.
Still Wagyu, but they're 80-20. Is that right?
No, they're a little less than that, but they look like Wagyus.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like a wildebeest, coming at you. They don't look like a regular. They're horned. They are.
You know that it's not part of the Tequina
it's
Angus.
not a Tequina Angus.
Like, where are they growing out here now?
foundation.
That one of them are both.
But they are great meat quality. And so, I mean, she has tons of people reach out to her about the Wagyu beef that she has. And it is a great part of our meat processing program, our customized freezer beef.
So it would be awesome if she could show the lineage of that and be like, yeah, this came from here.
Yeah. Like her Akaushi, bloodline.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
She definitely does that.
Man, it's going to be, it's going to be awesome to kind of see firsthand what happened. Because, we talk about it all the time, but we have Tequina Angus right here that's doing it. We're going to see this kind of evolve and roll through the changes, hopefully on the blockchain at some point.
Maybe.
Yeah. I just want to give a last plug for our 29th annual bull sale. These cattle are born and bred to be raised on forage, good quality forage for a commercial cattleman, low input, high output. They're fertile. Our bulls have been BSE'd, which means breeding soundness exam. We know that they are fertile. We know that they're going to breed. Our commercial heifers, our registered heifers, they are also going to be bred and pregnancy tested to make sure that they are with calf on sale day.
Right.
And so you're getting the 2-for-1 kind of. You're gonna buy a pregnant heifer. She's going to drop a calf, and then that's going to be additional income for that cattleman when they buy her. But this is a lifestyle for us. Anybody who says, "Oh, I want to get in the cattle business," okay, great. We were bred to do this.
Yeah.
You face hard times. You face death. You face disease. You face all of the bad things that can happen on a cattle farm happen.
Weather.
Yeah.
Just the weather alone is crazy.
Frozen pipes, frozen cattle troughs, feeding in 9-inch deep mud and muck, walking through muck in the mud every single day to feed these animals to make sure that they are good quality product. However, what happens is that the second and the third and the fourth middleman take out a lot of that pricing within the commodities.
Right.
And so the consumer pays an extraordinary amount for good quality beef, but it's not ever passed down to the producer. And we want to see that gap
Closed.
closed.
So now I guess 2 things. This happens on the 28th. So anybody that's interested on it.
29th.
29th.
Yep.
28th.
28th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Happens on the 28th.
I saw the 28th.
Happens on the 28th. So anybody that's interested can go watch this sale.
They can.
Right.
They can. We'll serve the entire crowd that shows up. We'll serve chili at 1:00 or noon, and the sale starts promptly at 12:30, 1 o'clock.
But you can watch it online too, right?
Yeah.
You can, and even before the sale, if you're interested in seeing some of the best cattle in the Southeast, when it comes to Angus cattle, you can visit www.tequina.com and look at the videos today. So you can actually go look at the videos of what you'd be bidding on, and then you can also, I'm sure the link is on the website, liveauctions.tv. 12:30 on January 28th. You can watch the sale live from there.
So let me ask you a question. And this is kind of not part of the sale itself, but say somebody locally is not in the cattle industry. They don't want to buy something to raise on their own farm, but they want to buy a good piece of cattle.
Beef.
Will you guys facilitate that where they can come buy it from you.
Yes.
You finish it out. You process it.
Well, now, no. What we do is we have a custom freezer beef program. So when let's just call it a bull is not in the bull test and does not go through the sale, he'll go into our beef program. A family of 4 or 6 or 2 families of whatever can go in. When we get ready to process, we say that bull goes to this family. They can custom cut it however they want. They can get however many pounds of ground beef,
brisket
they can get
or
their
this or that.
They can get their sirloin roast. They can not get roast. You can get cube steaks, stir strips. Your T-bones versus your fillets, etc.
Tail, liver, heart, tongue, if you choose.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
And then they go and pick that up from the processor. So we use several local-ish processors. Some are over in the Georgia area. But they go and actually get it from the processor. And then it's in their freezer for, a beef will last a family or 2, a year or more.
How many pounds usually finished is a...
So I try to be very careful because it's all depending on the hot hanging weight. So... we don't know how much that carcass is going to hang at until it's hanging. We know a guesstimate because they're going to take out, all the offal, the everything out of it, and let's just say it's a 900-pound or 1,200-pound bull. You can pretty much guess that's a 600-pound carcass.
Okay.
Then after that, after it's bones taken out, some of the fat, everything else is taken off.
Trimmings
and you might get home with 400 pounds of actual beef.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can do that through you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's 425 hot hanging weight.
It's tough because we started this program a few years ago, and most of 99% of those customers are repeat customers. They order every year. So
you don't have enough.
That's right. The processing slots.
Yeah, we have a
used
wait
to
list.
advertise, and now we don't even advertise. We fill our current customers first, and if we have any openings, word of mouth usually fills those up.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question,
Kutu, if you're listening, you need to get on that waiting list.
Yeah.
He says he's a beef. He says he's a steak guy.
He did say he's a steak guy.
You can't right here.
I wish we'd have been able to have the taste testing.
We're gonna do it. We'll do it. Yeah,
we can still do that.
Like a piece of, grocery store beef and then a Wagyu and then a good Angus.
Yeah, there might be enough money in our account, from all of our sponsors to do that. I want to thank Kyle today. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing for the first time our awesome backdrop of the SouthCack Syndicate logo on the wall lit up.
Yeah.
Boom, baby.
Kyle made that in the shop just for us, so appreciate that. And Megan, want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy week and
thank you.
popping by the studio with us this afternoon.
I love being here with you guys. I'm normally in the background listening.
What's crazy is we're going to do another one, and we're going to talk all Airbnbs. And then we're going to do another one. We're going to talk all agricultural education.
I would really love to do this talk though. Just revisit the
You're
Tuna
kinda hot
Angus.
on this one,
I
aren't
am,
you?
man. I love it. I just love. I think because it's one of those subjects that's like so unknown to most people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody eats beef.
Yeah.
Everybody eats steak. They
don't know where it came from.
Not everybody, but
So let's do a test run here. And, we started our own cattle company called Mud Creek with a K.
yep.
So let's take some of those head and let's do a
them in the
test
blockchain.
run.
So I'm pushing them. So when he says we, that's not me. That's these two.
right.
These
That's
two
right.
have their
That's
own.
Jared and Megan.
Yeah, they have their own cattle coming
But
called Mud
we
Creek.
will let you jump in on the third if you'd like.
But I'm like pushing them to like really push this digitization of these cattle. And so we'll have to kind of revisit this, kind of look at it. I love the whole industry. I want to kind of see where it goes. We'll have you back next time. We'll do steaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Megan. Thank you, Kyle.
Awesome. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.